What is going on, fantasy people? It is your boy John with the catch alongside my co-host Steven. What is going on, man?
Hey, man, just chilling, dude. Getting ready to get into it, man. We got Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, bunch of killers. I'm ready. Let's go.
You think they're gonna fall to you at 10?
No, I'm ready to watch them go to another team.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is it's a 10-man league. We have got some PPR scoring format going on. I've got selection number 8, and Steven has got selection number 10. We are trying to change that up quite a bit, but some of these mock drafts, they fill super quick. Like, we're lucky if we can even get in one together. So let us know in the comments down below where you want to see us selecting from, what type of scoring format you guys want to see. Go ahead and smash that like button while you're down there. Subscribe to the channel for much more fantasy content like this, as well as our annual The Catch podcast. We are super stoked. This mock draft has begun with Brandon taking Christian McCaffrey off the board. Let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Who are you targeting with that 10th overall pick, as well as the 11th overall pick? Mr. Snake Eyes, Steven, in this draft, back-to-back picks. Nick Cage, baby.
Nick Cage. Yeah, no, I'm going to say this right now. The snake eyes position is my favorite ever because you are going to have complete control over the next two guys that go, and it can really set you up nicely in your draft.
Yep. You're definitely going to be able to steal some players from me throughout this draft. Yeah, but I will be able to do the same to you. So we have seen your big three, right? I mean, if you've been watching mock drafts, if you've been watching any of our mock drafts, these are your three guys typically off the board, maybe with some Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor. I've seen Travis Kelce sprinkled in there, as well as Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs. But really, I think as week one draws closer, these are your top four: CMC, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. Don't think there's going to be really any debate unless, I mean, you guys know your personal leagues better than we do. I won't be surprised if Patrick Mahomes gets picked first overall if Steven's dad is selecting, for example, in our family league. So, you never know what's going to happen come draft day. And that's the beauty of these mock drafts, is to kind of get you prepared and to kind of put yourself in a position that you're not as comfortable with as well. So, as we see Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb off the board, and then Zeke, Steven is now up at pick 8.
All right, so I am going to do something I don't often do, and I'm taking a wide receiver heavy strategy approach in this mock draft, and I'm going to try to follow it through to the very end and not deviate from that. So somebody I absolutely love this season is Tyreek Hill. I think with the loss of Sammy Watkins, even though he wasn't like a major benefit to the team, that's going to give him an increased volume.
Oh, we screwed that up. I was drafting, not you.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I lost it. There you go. So don't get yourself confused with your co-host. Don't end up with Saquon Barkley when you don't want him.
We stared at each other. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, honestly, this was going to be my second pick. If Devontae Adams wasn't around. So Stephon Diggs, great number one type of receiver to have. And
yeah, I'm a little upset because I did actually want to go 0 RB here and kind of test out that strategy. And but hey, it just goes. This happened to Steven a couple of drafts ago. Oh, you're still picking. I'll let you talk, man. I'm sorry.
No worries, dude. I don't know how this is happening, but I got Davante Adams as well. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, and if you've got that, the final selection in the first round in your draft, then I do think if you're going receiver heavy, you're going to be able to snag two filthy receivers. So part of me really wants to select Travis Kelce here and see how that kind of plays out. But because I did end up with Saquon Barkley, someone who I'm not completely sold on, a little bit worried about, I am going to go ahead and take Antonio Gibson just so that my running back position is solidified, and I'll let my guy Moke pick up Travis Kelce, and we will move on with this draft, it's not an entire fluke. I will move on with Saquon Barkley. Steven selected him in our last mock draft video, and I think as long as he stays healthy, he is as good as they come in the league. So I do like you rolling with this receiver heavy
Mhm.
strategy here, and I do like the two guys that you got as well.
Yeah, I do too. In the past, I have been super running back aggressive, but I think this is like becoming a very wide receiver league. The fact that this is so pass happy of a league, and getting both Devontae Adams to pair with Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and then Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, you can't really ask for much better than that. And I
Yep.
think when you're doing that wide receiver heavy strategy, those first 3 rounds, if you get absolute dogs right there, it can really set your team up nicely.
Yeah, obviously, you are going to be selecting receivers early on. Maybe a tight end, right? If that's who you're kind of favoring, and probably QB early on with the RB0 strategy. So I would make it a point to just come out early and grab two absolute studs, two absolute target machines, touchdown machines, who are playing behind two of the best quarterbacks in the league, like Steven mentioned. So I do like both of those selections. And we are seeing a little bit of a run on running backs. We've seen Kelsey taken off the board as well as Calvin Ridley. And I'm going to try and remember to make my draft pick and not let it skip, to a player I don't want. So I'm a little bummed, but like I said, we will move forward. It'll be okay. I did absolutely smoke Steven in our last mock draft video in an 8-man league, so I'm not feeling too bad. Go ahead and check that out while you're at it as we see Najee Harris off the board. I don't know
Yeah,
how much of the Hall of Fame game you watched, but if you did watch the
I
first
watched
half,
him. I watched
yeah, I
him,
was
and
about to say,
he was really good. He was
and I
really
think
good.
it's apparent that this is the Pittsburgh Steelers guy, right? They were feeding him, and they were feeding him often. They let him play through the second quarter, and he looked good. I know it's just a preseason game, but definitely saw a lot of positives out of Najee Harris in our first preseason game of the coming 2021 football season. As we see, couple, a little bit more of a run on receivers: Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, D Hop off the board, and then a couple running backs. We've seen Josh Jacobs starting to go earlier and earlier in mock drafts, and I don't necessarily hate that. I don't. I think by the time the regular season comes, he will be a lot higher on mock drafts. And I don't know how you're shaking your head, man. He was on your squad last year.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
really
but
think that
that's
Kenyon
kind of
Drake makes that much of a difference, or do you just not like Josh
no.
Jacobs, even though you won a
Yeah,
fantasy championship last year?
I know, but I think the people that did own Josh Jacobs last year are the people that are probably a little bit more out on him because he did finish as an RB1, but it didn't feel like he was an RB1. There were a lot of weeks where he'd have like very low double-digit point totals, or he had injuries like concerns the whole season. Shoot, he had that one game where he like tried to fake out fantasy owners. I mean, I'm just like not 100% behind this guy. But obviously, if he falls like past the 4th round, you got to take the guy, right?
So I was just about to say, not to cut you off, that I wanted to go to shore up my RB position and just take David Montgomery there, but he got selected. So I have one of two things that I can do here, and I'm going to go ahead and select an absolute stud, shore up the position, not worry about it. And I typically like to shore up that position later on, but I'll take the talent and Darren Waller. The other guy I was eyeing would be Patty Mahomes. I mean,
Ooh,
be interesting
early.
to see. Well, I think in a 10-man league, this is pretty appropriate, and he may as well. He is falling to you if so. This will be interesting. Does Steven want Patty Mahomes or not?
So my next pick, because I'm staying wide receiver here, it's going to be Chris Godwin. And
Okay.
the reason it's going to be Chris Godwin as opposed to Mike Evans, who is right after him, is because I think the fact that Chris Godwin's going to be fully healthy this season, he's going to be able to really step into that role. The targets, all the targets are going to come to him. Mike Evans, he made a ton of his points in the red zone, getting those 1 to 3 yard touchdown catches. Major regression coming to him in a negative way, whereas Chris Godwin, I think he gets a lot of positive regression. I'm right back on the clock here. Shoot, if I wanted to, I could double stack at both receivers. suggested not do that though. But that Tampa Bay offense is very attractive. Somebody else I am pretty high on this season, and I think he can make up for the lack of quarterbacks that are there right now. Allen Robinson. I think this is another guy who is a absolute number one wide receiver.
Heavy receiver, man. You
Yep,
were really taking that name and running with it. So
absolutely.
I am going to go ahead. There's one of two things to do here, right? Uh, and I'm a little lost in my draft, man. I'm doing some things that I usually don't do, so I'm just going to stick with it. I am going to go ahead and select Mike Evans, opposite of what you just did. Just go ahead and get a receiver who I think is going to have a very good year, although in a very crowded offense. But I was eyeing the quarterback position there between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson as well. But like I said, going off the box here. I ended up with a running back I didn't think I'd have, and got a tight end early, and I might as well just go ahead and get at least one receiver who I consider elite early on, and then we will come back to that quarterback position a little bit later on as we see CeeDee Lamb as well as Josh Allen off the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an interesting one, too. I mean, like in our 8-man league, I took CeeDee Lamb. I am higher on him than Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is a beast. And I'm not trying to discredit him at all, especially if you're in a standard league. This is a guy that routinely puts up double-digit touchdowns, close to 1,000 yards. I mean, every single season. This is a model of consistency. This has been one of the top receivers in the league since he entered the league. And I think he's going to come right back. The one thing that does make him a little bit more attractive than Chris Godwin is Tom Brady clearly has a favor to him. He targeted him all in the postseason as well.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and I like I said, I need a receiver on this squad because I'm not feeling fully confident at the running back position. I am feeling very confident at the tight end position, but as I think there are a couple running backs you may slide out of these rounds, I just want to go ahead and shore up the receiver position, and I'm going to take a QB late in this draft. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that.
That's the way it's looking for me too, man. 4 receivers that early. I'm looking at the running back board right now. It's starting to look murky real quick.
Yeah, I'm all for the receiver heavy position, but 4 receivers in a row. I mean, you are truly going receiver heavy here, which is okay. I mean, there's plenty of time left in this draft. As you know, the top of the 5th round, we have seen Myles Gaskin and DeAndre Swift off the board. So now my main goal is just not even to give you guys a good mock draft, but just to steal as many running backs from Steven as I possibly can. So,
you little piece of torque, man.
Yeah, as we see Aaron Rodgers in round 5
going.
Oh,
that's pretty early. That's
a little early.
They definitely didn't look at his schedule. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you, a lot of people are definitely high on Aaron Rodgers coming off that MVP year. Some people do not care about his schedule whatsoever. So I am starting to sweat. I will tell you that. I'm not entirely happy with how I started this draft, and it is my turn to draft as Cooper Kupp is off the board. And there's a couple guys that I like here, and I'm going to tell you that I'm just going to go ahead and shore up DJ Moore. I think that's
He's a great player, dude.
I think I need, at this point in the draft, with Mike Evans being in a crowded offense, with Saquon Barkley being a little bit of a question mark, I need someone who's just a sure number one at a position, outside of Darren Waller and Gibson on this squad. So I'll roll with DJ Moore, although I do like Tyler Lockett here. I do like a couple of tight ends, running backs, and quarterbacks here. But Steven with some back-to-back picks. Let's see what he does.
Dude, I really wanted Mark Andrews right there, to be honest. And now I'm in a situation where I look at running back and Darrell Henderson is kind of best man available. Dude, honestly, I'm switching out and I'm taking Kyler Murray. And I'm just going to say, right back on the clock. And now I can actually go out and get my running back, because Darrell Henderson, I did not want to take with that last pick when I saw Kyler available. So I'm going to come back into it now. I see Kareem Hunt, who I'm definitely going to hope to get. Darrell Henderson's already hurt, but I think he's the best man available at that point.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, and I do think that going ahead and solidifying the quarterback position is a smart move there as well, considering that you have selected like 24 receivers thus far. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to scoop up Mike Davis. I know it's a boring pick. I've done it in a few mock drafts already, but we know he's going to be the number one back in that backfield this year, and I want another number one back on this team with Saquon Barkley being a little bit of a question mark.
Whew. Man, I'm looking at this running backs. Man, if you go wide receiver heavy, I will say this. I think right after that third round, you might want to pivot. Because if you go the first 4 and get those elite guys, that's definitely great to have. But the situation is you're going to turn around and you're going to find yourself with your hands open because the running backs get weak quickly. And there's a ton of value deep in your drafts at wide receiver later on.
Absolutely.
Man.
Jerry Jeudy going in round 6 is interesting to me. Someone who I dropped a video on earlier this week as a player whose fantasy stock is rising and rising quickly. And the more and more mock drafts I do, people are really considering him a number one receiver on that Denver Broncos roster, far ahead of Courtland Sutton. So keep an eye out for Jerry Jeudy. And go ahead and check out that video. I do, break down some of his stats and some of the situation with that Denver Broncos team as well. As we've also seen Lamar Jackson and 2 tight ends off the board in T.J. Hawkinson as well as Kyle Pitts. So little run on tight ends.
Yeah, they're going quick, and that's why I'm targeting a tight end in my next pick if Dallas Goddard's still available.
So
what do you think about Dallas Goddard, actually?
I think he has the potential to be as good as anyone in that tier of tight ends this year. I like Dallas Goddard a lot, and I think he's going to have a good fantasy year. I think kind of the question relies on how is Jalen Hurts going to utilize him, but I think we saw that last year he does have a lot of trust in Dallas Goddard. So maybe not necessarily Jalen Hurts specifically, but kind of how is that Eagles offense, going to roll out this year, playing in a division that looks to be improving defensively amongst those 3 other teams. And, I
think if he's healthy, he can be better than Zach Ertz was because I think he does have a better athletic profile.
Sure. Yeah, I think he's obviously played from behind with Zach Ertz on that team, outside of when Zach Ertz has been injured. So it's definitely an interesting situation, and I think he's of great value at this point in the draft as well. So I personally am going to be targeting a running back here as we see our first kicker off the board, Tyler Higbee at the tight end position, and Chase Edmonds off the board as well. So part of me is saying pick Damien Harris as he is the sure number 1 running back projected in that backfield, and I have just talked myself into that selection. Although there are 1 or 2 other players that I kind of like here, but I'm just going to go ahead and roll with the safe pick and hope that Cam Newton is not eating up all those red zone targets. As we see Steven pick his boy, D. Goddard, in round 7, and now picking atop round 8.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nowhere else for me to go right now other than running back. I need to just start adding horses to my stable. And I think a guy that has a ton of upside, Ronald Jones. Let's add some more Tampa Bay pieces to this offense.
You dirty bastard.
Is that your next pick?
It was, but there's 1 or 2 other guys here that I still like, and a couple QBs who I'm kind of considering here as well. So it is my turn to draft. So let me not forget to draft again. This is tough. I'm going to pick none other than the GOAT, Tom Brady. Pair him with my boy Mike Evans. Anytime Mike Evans scores, I'm essentially getting double the amount of points. I think it's a great pairing, a great offense to kind of stack alongside some of those other offenses like Kansas City, the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, of just a team that is going to have some offensive explosion this year. But let me tell you, you will see my cursor when you're watching this. I was hovering over James Robinson, about to pick him. I was looking at Leonard Fournette. I like both of those guys. I like Ronald Jones a little bit more out of that backfield, but I did not want to let Tom Brady slip out of here. Justin Herbert was available, and I do think that he's going to have an excellent year, but I think the value in pairing Mike Evans and Tom Brady was a little bit better of an overall value. So rolled with that.
Isn't it the worst when you've got like a Mike Evans or you've got a Tom Brady and the person you're playing against has the person who either throws it to him or catches the pass? It's just the worst. It's like
Yeah.
You don't even
Absolutely.
have a player.
Well, it's just kind of like the points kind of negate each other. So, like, yeah, if you got Aaron Rodgers last year and he's balling for you, but the person you're playing is Davante Adams and he's picking up all of those, reception points and he's getting, touchdowns. And yeah, it's really hard because the points are basically just negating each other. So, yeah, it's definitely a frustrating, aspect of fantasy. But who are you starting to target moving into a? Well, I am picking before you, so maybe you don't want to tell me. But
That is for sure. I don't trust you.
as we see James Robinson off the board, and now I am happy that I went out and kind of solidified that running back position a bit because I do think there's a couple good running backs available. But I do think that I have got pretty good depth with 4 running backs, on this roster. And, I'm just going to cross my fingers that Saquon Barkley is healthy this year and Antonio Gibson shows out like many believe he will do. And that Damien Harris and or Mike Davis, plays like a number 1 running back. And I think for myself, the most important thing for me at this point in the draft is a solid receiver to pair alongside Mike Evans as well as DJ Moore. So my main target is my boy Chase Claypool, who I've been taking in a lot of mock drafts. I think he is going to have a solid year in a crowded offense, but I'll also say that if Justin Herbert slides here, I'm going to consider stacking the QB position as well.
It's not a bad idea.
And there's still a lot of good tight ends that I like here. Ryan Tannehill is still available. I do want to make a note, like completely non-fantasy related on Ryan Tannehill. Like literally my whole life, like until I made that video on Ryan Tannehill the other week, I thought that his name was Ryan Tannenhill.
Oh my gosh.
Like I had always been saying Ryan Tannenhill, but it's Ryan Tannehill. So
I never knew that, but it actually does make sense because I feel like I've heard you say it like that before. I just thought you just didn't say it right.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and pick Chase Claypool as we move on. Closing in round 9, moving closer to round 10 as Steven makes his final selection of the 9th round.
Oh, Javonte Williams. I wanted him. I think he is a really, really good back too for Denver. So here's the guy that we talked about a little bit when we went over the AFC East, Zach Moss. I've actually come up on him since then. I think this is a guy that you have to look at him as, I think he is going to be the number 1 back when it comes week 1. And he is the only other real threat to see red zone touches. And he led at the running back position last year. He led the team with touches in the red zone. So that Bills offense, man, they are explosive and there's a ton of touchdown upside. So I took him there. And I'm going to take my guy, Michael Carter. Another running back.
I think it's 2 good back-to-back selections, and I think at this point in the draft for you and where your team is standing at the RB position, I think it's 2 very good selections as well. So I can tell you that I want to start to do some unorthodox things that I usually don't do. I'm going to spice this draft up, and it is my turn to draft. All right, sweet. I'm picking my boy, who I got off the waiver wire last year, Jay Herbert, the man, stacking that QB position, something that I'm starting to consider more and more. But I will say, as much as I like Tom Brady this year, As much as I think he can have an MVP type year, an even better year than last year, I want a little bit of safety at the quarterback position, just in case. Even though I don't think at this point it's ever going to happen, we see Tom fall off or, God forbid, get injured. I do like the selection of Justin Herbert here and just having a sure number two quarterback, in my opinion.
Hey, mix the old with the young, man. You
Yeah.
got the best. You got the best at the top and the best at the bottom. I think Justin Herbert is the next big guy in the league as well. I love him.
Yeah. I thought I thought out of that draft you liked Tua the most.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Hey, I will
Speaking
say, I will back up my position that I think Tua is a sneaky selection this year. Steven's going to hate on
you
it
want to go ahead and
all.
take him? Go ahead and take him then, huh? Put your mouth where your money. Put your money
I
where your
will
mouth
say,
is.
I will definitely say in 14-man leagues that Tua is a good selection. And in super flex leagues where you have to start two quarterbacks, I think Tua is a very good selection this year. So, um,
Sure.
and I may be putting my money where my mouth is come this year. Only time will tell. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm off of Tua, but I'm itching to get in a draft with you where you go ahead and take him so that every single week he sucks. I can remind you about it.
well, you heard it here. You heard it here first. And I'm excited for these real drafts to start, man. And because they're just as we could do 1,000 mock drafts, and you just never know what's actually going to happen in terms of your real league, right? So Tua might end up being the best quarterback. We've seen your mom in our family league literally draft four quarterbacks before. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
And
I
Philip Lindsay in the first round.
yeah, we've seen a lot. You just crazy things happen, right? So you got to be prepared from all angles. You got to be able to do some of these mock drafts and put yourself in a position that you don't expect to be in, like accidentally drafting Saquon Barkley when
Yeah.
there are other players on the board that you like a lot more, like I did in this current mock draft. So we are seeing a interesting mix here. We've got receivers, we've got running backs. Last quarterback taken was my selection, Justin Herbert. We've seen Gronk go here in round 11. I do think personally that Gronk has, hey, he had over 600 receiving yards last year and 7 touchdowns. Like there are worse tight ends you can be drafting at this point. I do think actually at this uh, currently in this draft, there are better tight ends he could have picked, but I don't hate the selection of Gronk. I think he's going to have a pretty good year overall.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't hate it, but there is just like something in me just when I watched him last year, I just felt like he was a little bit dusted. I felt like he wasn't the same Gronk, obviously, but I also think there's a lot of competition in that tight end locker room right there. I
Sure.
don't know if he's ever going to get enough targets where I feel confident starting him week over week.
Yeah, I don't think he's the best week to week value at tight end, but I think overall, as that position is relatively thin, I think he's going to have a pretty good year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select Kenyon Drake, just a good upside pick here, in my opinion.
Man, I'm at a weird spot, man. A lot of really good players went quickly in this mock
Oh,
draft.
yeah. We just saw some brutal selections.
You know what? I think I need to switch back over to receiver to just shore that up a little bit. I do like Jalen Waddle a lot. I think he's got great upside, and I'm gonna reach for him and take him. And then I do get to come back with the next pick here. I don't really like a whole lot of other receivers at this point, so I'm gonna go back to running back, which again I'm not loving anybody there either. Gosh, man. This is tough. This is really tough. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go back and I'm going to take an upside player, Mike Williams.
Damn it,
Yeah.
man.
Yep.
So I was trying to also pair Justin Herbert with Mike Williams in this draft, and yeah, you have officially screwed that up for me. So I'm going to go ahead. There's two players I really want to pick here, right? But to be safe, I think there's less value at the tight end position. I'm going to roll with Mike Goseki and just get a number 2 tight end on top of Darren
Mhm.
Waller, and have a second tight end on the squad. If you know me, if you watched any of my previous draft videos, I don't mind going heavy at tight ends if your league allows you to flex a second tight end. We've seen what a lot of these tight ends can do and how close to a number 1 receiver they can be. So I have no problem with that, even with a relatively crowded offense in Miami. And I think the other guy, just to put it out there, I was pretty high on was Antonio Brown. Going ahead, if anything happens to Mike Evans, I've still got that Brady. And there goes AB. Right, I've still got Brady to AB theoretically. And I think overall, AB is going to have a very good PPR year as well. So, but I think there's a lot of good receivers left, and I'm going to be happy with a lot of the receivers left on the board. So, I'm not beating myself up about that selection of Mike Gesicki whatsoever.
You look at this draft board, you get to these last rounds, you really do want to target upside. And that running back position is a little thin at the upside potential. I do think Naheem Hines does present a pretty good opportunity for this Colts offense.
Sure.
And am I going to go that way? Probably not. But I think this is a guy that very early on, people are going to be reaching for on the waiver wire because they're going to see how much the Colts actually utilize him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do think he is going to have a great year. I can't believe you took Mike Williams from me, man.
Dude, well, the thing about Mike Williams, he's similar to a Sammy Watkins, where it's like the perfect athletic build, and he's got so much promise, but he's under-delivered for various reasons. But I think the fact that Justin Herbert's such a deep ball type of guy, it's finally his time, man. And I think this offense is going to unlock him, and this is his year, I think.
I think he had a good year last year, but we still haven't seen that full potential. And I think that it really amounts to Justin Herbert fully locking in his second year. And I think Mike Williams is going to benefit en masse from that. So I think I'm about to get a giant steal in this draft by selecting the Baltimore Ravens defense, sliding here in round 13. I think it's a great value. I think there's enough receivers. I don't feel like I need necessarily another running back or another tight end. I think I definitely don't need another quarterback with 2 on my board. So I'll go ahead and reach a little for a defense and just kind of take a receiver. I think there's a lot that have equal value here, so I'm not going to be upset if 1 or 2 of these guys gets taken either by SC Wizard 45 or Steven. So dope name. Shout out SC Wizard 45.
What do you think about Latavius?
Hey,
somebody
time out.
Up?
As SC Wizard takes Steven's boy Adam Trotman with a beautiful body off the board. Check out our NFC South podcast. One of the first episodes we did. Steven's boy Trotman
about his athletic build for probably like 15 minutes.
Maybe not that long, but close enough.
All right.
I like the selection of Corey Davis there.
Mm-hmm. Dude, what do you think about Kenneth Gainwell for Philadelphia? I think there's a real potential for him to unlock that running back 1 spot because I am not a fan of Miles Sanders.
I'm not giving you any fantasy advice for the rest of your life, only our viewers. If this mock draft has been helpful or entertaining or just plain sad, please go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe for more future content like this. We have tons and tons of fantasy content on the way, as well as our annual The Catch podcast. And please let us know in the comments below what you are either enjoying about this draft, what are you disliking about this draft, and what can we do for you guys that will be beneficial in your own fantasy football leagues, as it is time for myself to make a selection. I will tell you that I would love to pick Ryan Fitzpatrick here as a 3 QB team, or even Baker Mayfield, because I like those guys, and I have had drafts before where I just draft a ton of quarterbacks for no reason, like last year. But I'm going to go ahead and just shore up Michael Gallup, who I think is a good value late here in an offense that is going to have a lot of firepower as long as everyone can stay happy. And I think a lot of these receivers on the board have relatively equal value. So I'm not upset with that pick whatsoever. As we see, Trey Lance off the board, Devontae Parker off the board, Austin Hooper off the board. Who are you eyeing
I
with
was
your
eyeing
next?
Trey Lance. I was
Really?
eyeing Trey Lance. There's been a ton of word out about that Trey Lance is going to get a start sooner than later. And I think when he does start, this is a guy who's going to unlock top 5, top 10 potential.
Yep.
Might not be exactly this season, but there's a real good chance that he does do it this season.
Man, I'm looking at your squad. I've got them pulled up as we see a couple defenses, Evan Ingram, some kickers. You like that, Kirk Cousins off the board, and I do really. Your team is very scary based on the QB position as well as the receiver position. Like if you can get any of these running backs to step up and be the number one guys with this roster you've drafted, and Dallas Goddard comes to fruition there, then you've got a very good squad overall, especially in PPR leagues. Just even between what Davante Adams and Stephon Diggs could do alone to a opposing team. So just throwing that out there as I've got 3 picks until my selection. You have the final pick of this draft, so you're going to set the tone. We're going to see something probably very anticlimactic, and
Yeah.
I will say I like the squad I put together here. I think I had a couple. I could have completely panicked, right? Let's say in your actual draft, you're in a position you don't want to be, or you have a complete fluke like me and you accidentally draft someone you don't want to draft. Just remember not to panic and follow your strategy. Even if you end up accidentally drafting a player in position that doesn't entail your strategy, just don't panic. Just stay true to your gut and finish it out. I'm going to go ahead and forfeit the kicker position, and I'm going to pick someone who I'm pretty big on this year. Also featured in my video on 2 wide receivers whose stocks are quickly rising. I'm going to pick up Rashad Bateman, someone who I think could turn into the number 1 receiver for Lamar Jackson in that Baltimore Ravens offense, and I think it's a great final selection for this squad. And let's see how Steven caps off the night here.
Chargers defense off the board.
Okay, pretty anticlimactic, yeah. All right, I'm going to let you crack down your team first. I want to see what you have to say about your heavy, more than heavy. I mean, usually when we're talking heavy receiver, people are going 2 receivers, maybe 3 receivers in a row. You went full charge here, so I'm going to let you break down your squad.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, if you're going to go wide receiver heavy approach, going after rounds 3, it's really dangerous. And I think we saw that here. If you look at my running backs, the fact that I'm relying on Darrell Henderson, Ronald Jones, Zach Moss, it's scary, right? Yeah. I'm really hoping that ends up turning out to where I have 2 backs I can at least rely on. But the fact is that I shirted up by getting Kyler Murray, who I think every single week is going to give me a huge competitive advantage. The guy that I think on this team that can really kind of make me go from maybe like a top 5 type of team offense to a top 3 potentially is Dallas Goddard. Yep. This is a guy who could be in for a huge season. So I need him to stay healthy, man. I need him to stay healthy.
Sure.
So that's really my takeaway. And my best player on this offense, man, Stephon Diggs. He's got to carry me again.
Yeah, I mean, Stephon Diggs, Davante Adams, then, Chris Godwin and or Allen Robinson, depending on how many flex spots you'd have in this league, that's scary right there. I mean, in PPR value, and like I said, if any 2 of these running backs can step up and Goddard can stay healthy, you do definitely have a killer team with a great bench as well. So for once, I'll give you some credit. You drafted pretty decent here. As we move on to my team, at the quarterback position, went out, got the greatest of all time other than Peyton Manning right behind me here and Tom Brady, and then went ahead and shored up the quarterback position with the young, as I call him, as I call Cooper Kupp, I'll also call Justin Herbert the boy, the man, the myth, the legend. And so I'm very happy at the quarterback position. We've seen I'm starting to do this a little bit here and there, going out and selecting two quarterbacks, something I really never do until very late rounds in fantasy historically. So I like both these selections at the receiver position. We've got Mike Evans, who I think is going to be a great pair with a Tom Brady. We went out and we got the number one receiver in Carolina and DJ Moore. And then on top of that, we've got Chase Claypool, my guy, Michael Gallup, and Rashad Bateman. Some good, in my opinion, very late receiver value there. At the running back position, we've got Saquon Barkley, right? The biggest question mark of this draft for me, someone who I did not mean to draft. For some reason, I thought Steven was drafting. But like I said, put yourself in these uncomfortable positions and see how it goes in these mock drafts. That's what they're here for. So, and if Saquon Barkley stays healthy this year, we do know the value that he presents, and I think that could certainly happen. But just a little bit of a question mark there. But I do think the selection of Antonio Gibson does help solidify that Saquon Barkley pick. Staying in the NFC East, Antonio Gibson had 11 rushing touchdowns last year. I think he's going to match that this year, at least 10 touchdowns. I think he's going to be heavy utilized. I think he's going to be a great, great fantasy player this year. And then I went out and got Damien Harris, Mike Davis, two people who I think are going to be the number one running backs.
I love your team, honestly.
Yeah. And I think I've got a great, late upside pick in Kenyon Drake. Anything happens to Josh Jacobs, as Steven likes to complain about, does have some injuries, so I think that it's a great value. We've seen what Kenyon Drake can do, and I think either way he's going to be heavily utilized in that offense. Then at the tight end position, arguably the best in the league, arguably definitely the second best in the league, without a doubt, and Darren Waller. Some might say George Kittle, right? But Darren Waller is an absolute beast. I would argue that right now he is the second most valuable tight end in the league, hands down, in front of George Kittle. Absolute target machine. Derek Carr trusts him. John Gruden trusts him. He's going to be the focal point of the receiver position, right? He is the number one receiver on this team. Then we went out and got Mike Goseki, someone I'm very, very big on, who I think is going to have a beautiful, wonderful, great fantasy year with that Miami offense behind my boy Tua, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Please, I'm telling you guys, go watch the AFC East video, skip to the Dolphins part if you want, and just listen to this guy go on a rant about it.
I'm not sleeping on Tua. Everyone is hating on Tua. Tua, if you ever see this, I believe in you, bro. And that probably
go slide in his DMs already, dude.
All right. Anything else you want to add to the video? Anything else you want to add on top of this mock draft we just conducted?
No, man. I would just say with the Ravens, the fact that Marquise Hollywood Brown's getting hurt, I think you need to start looking at Rashad Bateman and Sammy Watkins a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. And it's another note on this team. I mean, I did forfeit a kicker, but I think the Ravens defense sliding to me would be huge. Don't count on a defense like that sliding even in a 10-man league. But I think that really solidified this team. I think
for sure.
Even, like I said, I could have panicked big time. But even with that Saquon Barkley selection, I do like the way that this team turned out. And I do like the way that your team turned out as well, going wide receiver heavy. So with that, I will go ahead and say thank you so much for watching and or listening. We both at the here at The Catch appreciate you all so very much. Please comment down below with what you thought about this draft, who had a better draft, who would you have, like to see go in front of some of the players that we did select, and vice versa. What type of drafts can we put together that are more beneficial for you and your personal fantasy league? While you're at it, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe for more future content like this, including our The Catch podcast. So with that being said, Steven, I will let you say goodbye.
Hey, I want to actually pose a question to our followers out there. I'm really interested to see if you had the chance to take Stephon Diggs or Davante Adams or Tyreek Hill, who are you taking? Yep. Who is your wide receiver one for this season? Because I think it is something that isn't just for sure yet. So I'm going to pose that for you guys. But other than that, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll add a question for our viewers in the comment section down below as well. Who do you think is going to have a better year from the NFC East at the running back position? Saquon Barkley or Antonio Gibson? Good debate there, right? Yeah.
Oh, definitely good. I mean,
Yeah.
all three of them, Zeke Elliott too. There's just going to be a bunch of good running backs.
And Miles Sanders, why not throw him in there? Who's the best running back in the NFC East this year? Let us know in the comments down below. Like I said, thank you so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.
On The Catch.